The morning air on New Scylla was cool and clean. Daeho knelt in the monastery garden, his hands gently working the soil around a small plant. The sun was just coming up, painting the sky in soft colors of pink and gold. He had been awake for 2 hours already, as he was every day. This was his favorite time, when the world was quiet and peaceful. Daeho was 32 years old, but he looked younger. His face was calm with kind eyes that seemed to see everything around him. He wore simple brown robes that were old, but clean. His black hair was cut short, and his hands were strong from years of working in the garden. The monastery sat on top of a hill that looked out over the valley below. There were 23 monks living here, both men and women. They grew their own food, made their own clothes, and spent their days in prayer and meditation. It was a simple life, but it was good. Daeho finished with the plant and stood up slowly. He brushed the dirt off his hands and looked around the garden. Everything was growing well. The tomatoes were getting big, and the beans were climbing up their poles. In a few weeks, they would have a good harvest. He walked to the small pond. At the center of the garden, the water was still and clear. He could see fish swimming near the bottom. Daeho sat down on a stone bench and closed his eyes. He took a deep breath in through his nose, held it for a moment, then let it out slowly through his mouth. This was how he started every day, with quiet breathing and an empty mind, but today was different. Today the peace would be broken, eh? Loud sound filled the air. It was like thunder, but it did not stop. Daeho opened his eyes and looked up at the sky. Something was moving up there, something big and dark. Other sounds joined the first one. The noise got louder and louder. Other monks came running out of the monastery buildings. They all looked up at the sky with fear in their eyes. Master Bongsu, the oldest of them all, walked out slowly. He was not running, but his face was serious. Ships, said Sister Yunji, pointing up at the sky. Many ships. The ships were huge, bigger than any building Daeho had ever seen. They were black and covered with sharp points. They looked like they were made for war. As they got closer, Daeho could see lights flashing on them. Red lights, angry lights. The ships stopped moving and just hung in the air above the valley. They blocked out the sun, making everything dark and cold. The peaceful morning was gone. What do they want? Asked Hyunwoo, Daeho's closest friend at the monastery. Master Bongsu shook his head. Nothing good, he said quietly. One of the ships moved away from the others. It was smaller, but still huge. It came down toward the planets. Surface, landing in the big field near the town at the bottom of the hill. The ground shook when it touched down. Soon, a message came over the communication system that connected all the towns and cities on New Scylla. A voice spoke in the common language that all humans used. But the voice was not human. It was deep and rough like rocks grinding together. Humans of this world, the voice said. I am Commander Kethver of the Veltar Empire. Your time of peace is over. You will surrender now, or you will die. The monks looked at each other with worry. They had heard of the Veltar before. They were aliens who loved war and fighting. They had taken over many worlds, making slaves of the people who lived there. We give you 1 day to decide, the voice continued. But know this, we do not make empty promises. We have destroyed worlds that would not bend to our will. Your weapons are toys compared to ours. Your soldiers are children compared to our warriors. The communication went quiet. Then it came back on, but now it was a human voice. It was Governor Park, the leader of New Scylla. People of New Scylla. Governor Park said, his voice was shaking. We are calling an emergency meeting. All town leaders, all military officers, all anyone who might have ideas about what to do. Please come to the capital city as fast as you can. The communication went off again. The monks stood in silence, looking at each other. They had lived in peace for so long that they had almost forgotten that war existed. Master, said Daeho, what should we do? Master Bongsu was quiet for a long time. He looked very old suddenly. His white hair moved in the wind, and his eyes were sad. We wait, he said finally, and we pray, and we remember who we are. The next few hours passed slowly. News came from the town below. The Veltar had sent soldiers to walk through the streets. They were tall and wore dark armor that covered their whole bodies. They carried weapons that could kill many people at once. They did not hurt anyone, but they made it clear that they could if they wanted to. More news came in the afternoon. The Veltar commander had met with Governor Park and the other leaders. The aliens had made their demands clear. All humans in this part of space would become slaves of the Veltar Empire. They would work in mines and factories. They would build ships and weapons for their new masters, but then something strange happened. Commander Kethver had heard about the monastery. He had heard that the monks there were different from other humans. He had heard that they were fighters who had never lost a battle, not because they were strong, but because they did not need to fight at all. The Veltar commander was interested. He had fought warriors from 100 different worlds. He had never met anyone who could win without fighting. So he made a new offer. If the humans could send someone to fight his greatest warrior, and if that person could win, then the Veltar would leave this part of space alone. But if the human lost, then all humans would become slaves immediately. The human leaders were scared. They had soldiers, but no one who could fight the Veltar's best warrior. The aliens were known for their strength and their skill in battle. Their champion, a creature called Thrakmar, had killed over 1,000 beings in fights. No one had ever beaten him, but Commander Kethver was not interested in soldiers. He wanted to fight one of the monks. He wanted to see if these peaceful humans were really as special as people said they were. The message came to the monastery just as the sun was setting. Master Bongsu read it out loud to all the monks. When he finished, everyone was quiet. "They want one of us to fight," said Sister Yunji. "But we do not fight. We have never fought." "I know," said Master Bongsu. "But perhaps that is exactly why we must go." He looked around at all the monks. His eyes stopped on Deho. "You," he said quietly, "you will go." Deho felt his heart start beating faster. "Master, I do not know how to fight. I have never hurt anyone in my life." "I know," said Master Bongsu. "That is why you are the right choice." The other monks looked shocked. How could gentle Deho fight a creature that had killed 1,000 warriors? But Master Bongsu smiled for the first time that day. "Trust me," he said, "and trust yourself. You have everything you need already." As the stars came out that night, Deho sat alone in the garden. Tomorrow he would have to face the strongest warrior in the Veltar Empire. He would have to do it with no weapons, no armor, and no plan except to be himself. He took a deep breath and tried to find his peace. Again, somewhere in the darkness, he could hear the alien ships humming with power. Soon, the whole galaxy would be watching to see what would happen when a simple monk met a warrior who had never known defeat. The test was coming, and Deho was not ready. But maybe, just maybe, that was exactly how it needed to be. Deho did not sleep that night. He sat by his window, looking out at the alien ships in the dark sky. Their lights blinked like angry stars. Every few minutes, he could hear the sound of their engines humming through the air. It was a sound that made his skin feel cold. When the sun came up, he was still sitting there. His friend Haiyan Wu found him and sat down beside him. "You look tired," Haiyan Wu said. "I am scared," Deho said. It was the truth. He had always told the truth, especially to his friend. "We are all scared," Haiyan Wu said. "But Master Bongsu chose you for a reason. He is very wise." Deho shook his head. "I do not understand his reasons. I have never hurt anyone. I do not even kill insects in the garden. How can I fight a warrior who has killed 1,000 people?" "Maybe you are not supposed to fight him," Haiyan Wu said. "Maybe you are supposed to do something else." Before Deho could answer, Sister Yunji came to the door. She was a small woman, but she had a strong voice and bright eyes that missed nothing. "Master Bongsu wants to see you," she said to Deho. "He is waiting in the deep chamber." Deho felt his heart jump. The deep chamber was a special place in the monastery. It was underground, carved into the rock of the hill. Only the most important meetings happened there. He followed Sister Yunji down the stone steps. The air got cooler as they went deeper. At the bottom was a heavy wooden door. Sister Yunji opened it and stepped aside. "Go in," she said. "He is waiting." The deep chamber was round and small. Candles burned in holes cut into the walls. The light moved and danced, making shadows that seemed alive. Master Bongsu sat on a simple cushion in the center of the room. His eyes were closed, and he was breathing very slowly. "Sit," he said, without opening his eyes. Daeho sat on a cushion across from him. The room was so quiet that he could hear his own heartbeat. "You are afraid," Master Bongsu said. "Yes, Master." "Good. Fear means you understand how serious this is." Master Bongsu opened his eyes. They were old eyes, but they were still sharp. "Tell me, Daeho, what do you think our monastery is for?" Daeho thought for a moment. "To find peace, to help people, to grow food and live simply. Those are good answers. But they are not the whole answer." Master Bongsu stood up slowly. His old bones made small sounds as he moved. "Come, I will show you something." He walked to one of the walls and pressed his hand against the stone. The stone moved, and a hidden door opened. Behind it was another room, even smaller than the first. "This is the true heart of our monastery," Master Bongsu said. The room was filled with books and scrolls. Some looked very old. On the walls were pictures of people in robes like theirs. But these people were not in gardens or temples. They were in space, on ships, on strange worlds under alien stars. "Long ago," Master Bongsu said, "when humans first went to the stars, some of them found something amazing. They found that the old ways, the ways of breathing and quiet mind, could do things that seemed impossible." He picked up an old book and opened it. The pages were yellow and soft. Inside were pictures of people sitting in meditation, but around them were strange lights and energy. In space, away from Earth, something changed. The human mind became able to do more than it ever could before, but only for those who learned to be truly quiet inside. Daeho looked at the pictures. What kind of things? Many things. Moving objects without touching them. Knowing what would happen before it happened. Feeling the thoughts and feelings of others, even enemies. Master Bongsu closed the book. But the most important thing was this: they could make others feel what they felt. If they felt peace, others would feel peace too. "I do not understand, Master." "You will." Master Bongsu smiled. "Your training begins now." For the next 6 hours, Master Bongsu taught Daeho things he had never learned before. Not just the simple breathing they did every day, but deeper things. Ways to make his mind completely empty. Ways to feel the energy that moved through all living things. "Close your eyes," Master Bongsu said. "Now breathe in for 8 counts. Hold it for 8 counts. Breathe out for 8 counts. Do this 100 times." Daeho did as he was told. At first, it was hard to keep count. His mind kept thinking about the alien warrior, about the fight, about dying. But slowly, the numbers became easier. The breathing became natural. "Good," Master Bongsu said. "Now do it again, but this time try to feel your heartbeat. Try to make it slower." This was much harder. Daeho had never tried to control his heartbeat before. But after many tries, he began to feel something. His heart was beating fast because he was scared. But when he breathed very slowly and thought about nothing, his heart began to slow down too. "Very good," Master Bongsu said. "Now comes the hard part. I want you to think about the alien warrior. Think about how strong he is, how many people he has killed." Daeho did not want to do this. Just thinking about Thrakmor made him feel sick with fear. "Think about him," Master Bongsu said again. "But keep breathing slowly. Do not let the fear change your breath." This was the hardest thing Daeho had ever done. Every time he thought about the huge alien warrior, his breathing wanted to become fast and scared. But he forced himself to. "Keep it slow and steady." "Now," Master Bongsu said, "while you are thinking about him, I want you to send him a feeling. Send him the feeling of peace that you have when you are in the garden in the morning." "How do I do that?" "Just try. Imagine that your peaceful feeling is like light, coming out of your chest. Imagine that light reaching across space to touch him. Daeho tried. He thought about the quiet mornings in the garden. He thought about the fish in the pond and the plants growing in the sun. He tried to imagine that feeling leaving his body and traveling to the alien ship. Nothing seemed to happen. But Master Bongsu was smiling. You did it, he said. I did not feel anything. You will learn to feel it. But trust me, you did it. They practiced for many more hours. Daeho learned to breathe in ways that made his whole body feel different. He learned to make his mind so quiet that he could hear things he had never heard before. The sound of wind through the walls, the movement of small animals in the ground, even the heartbeats of the other monks in the rooms above. This is what makes humans special, Master Bongsu said. Other species are strong in their bodies or smart in their minds, but humans can become quiet inside in a way that changes everything around them. As the sun began to set, news came from the town below. The Veltar had built a big arena near their ship. They were bringing their champion down from the fleet. The fight would happen tomorrow, and beings from all over the galaxy would watch. Are you ready? Master Bongsu asked. Daeho thought about everything he had learned that day. It was so much and it was so new. He still felt scared, but now he also felt something else. He felt like he had a small light inside him that had not been there before. I do not know if I am ready, he said. But I understand now why you chose me. Why? Because I do not want to hurt anyone. Even the alien warrior. I want him to feel the peace that I feel. Master Bongsu put his hand on Daeho's shoulder. Now, you are beginning to understand. Tomorrow you will not fight him. You will show him something he has never seen before. You will show him what it means to be truly human. That night, Daeho did sleep, but his dreams were strange. He dreamed that he was sitting in the garden, and across from him sat a huge creature, covered in scars and armor. The creature was crying, but Daeho could not understand why. When he woke up, he felt different. The fear was still there, but it was smaller now. In its place was something new, a feeling that tomorrow would not be about winning or losing. It would be about showing the galaxy what humans were really capable of. The test was coming, and for the first time, Daeho thought he might be ready after all. The morning of the fight came too quickly. Daeho woke up before the sun and went to the garden one last time. He knelt beside the pond and looked at his reflection in the water. The face looking back at him was calm, but he could see worry in his eyes. Today might be the last day I see this place, he thought. But instead of making him sad, the thought made him feel grateful. He had lived a good life here. He had known peace and friendship and purpose. Master Bongsu found him there as the sun was coming up. It is time, the old man said. Daeho nodded. He stood up and bowed to the garden, to the pond, to the morning light. Then he followed Master Bongsu to the shuttle that would take him to the arena. The other monks came to see him off. Sister Yunji hugged him, which surprised him. She was not usually one for showing feelings. Remember, she whispered in his ear, you are not going there to fight. You are going there to teach. Hyeon-woo was the last to say goodbye. I will take care of your plants, he said. When you come back, they will be waiting for you. If I come back, Daeho said. When? Hyeon-woo said firmly. When you come back? The shuttle ride to the arena was short but felt very long. Daeho sat with his eyes closed, practicing his breathing. In and out, slow and steady. He could feel his heartbeat, and he worked to keep it calm. When the shuttle landed, he could hear noise from outside, lots of noise. Voices shouting, ships landing, the sound of many feet walking on metal floors. The door opened, and Daeho stepped out into chaos. The arena was huge. The Veltar had built it in just one day, but it looked like it had been there forever. It was made of dark metal that gleamed in the sunlight. Tall walls rose up on all sides, and thousands of seats filled with beings from all over the galaxy. Most of the crowd was Veltar warriors. They were tall and wore dark armor. Their faces were hidden behind masks, but Daeho could feel their excitement. They wanted to see blood. They wanted to see their champion destroy the weak human, but there were others too. Humans from the nearby colonies had come to watch. They looked scared and sad, like they were watching a funeral instead of a fight. Some of them were crying there. Were also aliens that Deho had never seen before. Tall, thin beings with blue skin, short, round creatures covered in fur, things that looked like they were made of crystal. News of this fight had spread across the galaxy and everyone wanted to see what would happen. A voice spoke from speakers all around the arena. It was the same rough voice that had spoken the day before. "Welcome, beings of the galaxy, Commander," Kethver said. "Today you will see the strength of the Veltar Empire. Today you will see why we rule the stars." The crowd of Veltar warriors roared. Their voices were deep and angry like the sound of thunder. "Our champion, Thrakmer, has never lost a fight," the commander continued. "He has killed warriors from 100 worlds. He has crushed the strongest fighters the galaxy has ever seen. Today, he will show you what happens to those who stand against us." The roaring got louder. Deho could feel the sound in his chest, but he kept breathing slowly, keeping his heart calm. "And now," Commander Kethver said, "let the human come forward." A door opened on one side of the arena. Deho walked through it, and suddenly he was in the center of a huge space. The ground was covered in sand, and the walls rose up around him like a bowl. Thousands of eyes looked down at him from the seats above. The Veltar warriors saw him and began to laugh. Their laughter was not happy, it was cruel and mocking. Here was their enemy, this small human in simple brown robes. This was the great warrior they had heard about. "Is this a joke?" One of them shouted. "Where are his weapons?" called another. "He looks like a child." But not everyone was laughing. The humans in the crowd were quiet, watching with hope and fear. Some of the alien visitors seemed confused. They had expected to see a great fighter, but instead they saw a man who looked like he had never hurt anyone in his life. In the press section, reporter Hyatt One from Galactic News Network was trying to explain what she was seeing to viewers across the galaxy. I'm not sure what to make of this," she said into her microphone. "The human representative appears to be unarmed. He's wearing simple robes and he's just standing there. Very calmly. I've never seen anything like this." Deho walked to the center of the arena and stopped. He looked up at the thousands of faces watching him. He could feel their emotions, excitement, fear, confusion, anger. It was like standing in a storm of feelings, but he kept breathing. In and out, slow and steady. He closed his eyes and tried to find the quiet place inside himself that Master Bongsu had shown him. "And now," Commander Kethver's voice boomed across the arena, "our champion." A door on the other side of the arena opened. What came out was not like anything Deho had ever imagined. Thrakmer was huge. He was almost 8 feet tall and covered in muscle. His skin was dark gray, like stone, and it was covered in scars. Some of the scars were small, like cuts from knives. Others were big, like claw marks from giant beasts. Each scar was a story of a fight he had won. He wore armor that looked like it was made from the bones of his enemies. In his hands were weapons that gleamed with a dark light. One was a sword as long as Deho was tall. The other was a weapon that looked like it could break a person in half, but it was his eyes that made Deho's breath catch. They were red like fire, and they were filled with a hunger for violence that was older than worlds. The Veltar crowd went wild. They screamed and cheered and stamped their feet. The sound was so loud that it hurt Deho's ears. But he kept breathing, kept his eyes closed, kept looking for his center. Thrakmer walked to the center of the arena. Each step made the ground shake. When he was close enough, he stopped and looked down at Deho. "You are the human warrior?" He said. His voice was like rocks grinding together. Deho opened his eyes and looked up at the giant. "I am Deho," he said quietly. "I have killed beings 3 times your size," Thrakmer said. "I have crushed warriors who trained their whole lives for battle. What makes you think you can face me?" "I do not think I can face you," Deho said. "I do not even want to face you." This answer seemed to confuse the alien warrior. "Then why? Are you here? Because someone has to be?" The crowd was getting quieter. They could not hear what the 2 fighters were saying, but they could see that something strange was happening. The giant warrior was talking to the small human instead of just attacking him. Commander Kefver's voice cut through the quiet. "Enough talk, let the battle begin." Thrakmor raised his weapons. The crowd held its breath. This was the moment everyone had been waiting for, but Deho did not move. He did not raise his hands to defend himself. He did not try to run away. He just stood there, breathing slowly, his eyes closed. "Defend yourself!" Thrakmor roared. "I am," Deho said quietly, and that was when something impossible happened. The arena, which had been filled with noise and excitement, began to grow quiet. Not just quiet, silent. It was as if Deho's calm was spreading out from him like ripples in a pond. The humans in the crowd stopped crying. The alien visitors stopped talking. Even some of the Veltar warriors stopped shouting. Reporter High One whispered into her microphone, "Something is happening here. I can't explain it, but the atmosphere in the arena is changing. The human hasn't done anything, but somehow ... She stopped talking. Like everyone else, she was caught in the strange quiet that was spreading through the arena. Thrakmor felt it, too. For the first time in his life, he hesitated. This was not how fights were supposed to begin. Where was the fear? Where was the anger? Where was the excitement of battle? Instead, there was just this small human breathing slowly, and somehow, that simple act was changing everything. "What are you doing?" Thrakmor asked. Deho opened his eyes and looked at him. "I am showing you who I am," he said. "And maybe, if you let me, I can show you who you are too." The crowd was completely silent now. Thousands of beings from across the galaxy were holding their breath, waiting to see what would happen next. The battle was about to begin, but already, it was not the battle anyone had expected. The silence in the arena was so deep it felt like the world had stopped breathing. Thousands of beings sat frozen in their seats, waiting for something to happen. But what was happening was not what anyone expected. Thrakmor stood with his weapons raised, but he did not attack. Something about the small human in front of him made him feel strange. In all his years of fighting, he had never felt anything like this before. "Fight me," he roared, but his voice sounded different. Less sure, Deho opened his eyes and looked at the giant warrior. "I will not fight you," he said softly. "But I will not run away either." "Then you will die," Thrakmor said. But even as he spoke the words, they felt wrong in his mouth. "Maybe," Deho said, "but not because I am weak. And not because you are strong." This made Thrakmor angry. No one had ever spoken to him like this. No one had ever been so calm when facing death. He swung his huge sword at the human's head. The crowd gasped. The blade was so big and so fast that it seemed impossible for anyone to avoid it. But somehow, Deho was not there when the sword arrived. He had moved, but so slowly and smoothly that it looked like he was dancing. Thrakmor swung again, this time with both weapons. The human moved again, just a small step to one side. The weapons cut through the air where he had been standing a moment before. "Stop moving," Thrakmor shouted. "Stand still and fight like a warrior." "I am standing still," Deho said, and it was true. He was not running or jumping. He was just moving the smallest amount needed to let the attacks pass by him. Thrakmor attacked again and again. Each time his weapons missed. But the human was not trying to hurt him back. He was not even trying to touch him. He was just ... calm and quiet and impossible to hit. In the crowd, people were starting to whisper, "How is he doing that? The alien is so much faster, but he cannot touch the human. This is not normal." Reporter High One spoke into her microphone, but her voice was full of wonder. "I have been covering fights for 20 years, she said. "I have never seen anything like this. The human is not fighting back, but somehow he is not being hurt either. It is like he knows where the attacks will be before they happen." The truth was even stranger than that. Deho was not seeing the attacks, he was feeling them. The breathing exercises that Master Bongsu had taught him had opened something in his mind. He could feel Thrakmor's intentions before the warrior. Even knew what he was going to do. When Thrakmor decided to swing his sword, Deho felt the decision like a whisper in his mind. When the alien warrior chose to attack high or low, left or right, Deho knew it before the weapon started moving. But more than that, he could feel Thrakmer's emotions. Under all the anger and violence, there was something else. Something the warrior had hidden so deep that he had forgotten. It was their fear, not fear of losing. Not fear of pain, but fear of what would happen if he stopped fighting. Fear of who he might be if he was not a killer. "You are tired," Deho said quietly as another attack missed him. "I am not tired," Thrakmer roared. But he was breathing. Harder now. His attacks were getting wilder and less controlled. "Not tired in your body?" Deho said. "Tired in your soul." Thrakmer stopped attacking for a moment. "What did you say?" "You have been fighting for so long that you have forgotten what it feels like to be at peace." "Peace is for the weak." "No," Deho said. "Peace is for the brave." Thrakmer attacked again, but this time there was less anger in it. He was starting to listen to the human's words, and that was making him confused. Back in the monastery, Doctor. Ji-hoon was watching the fight on a small screen. Around him, the other monks sat in silence. They could see what was happening, but they understood it better than anyone else in the galaxy. "He is not avoiding the attacks," Dr. Ji-hoon said. Quietly, "He is showing the warrior that there is another way to be." "Will it work?" Sister Yunji asked. "Look at the warrior's face," Dr. Ji-hoon said. "It is already working." In the arena, something was changing. Thrakmer's attacks were getting slower. Not because he was tired, but because he was thinking. For the first time in many years, he was thinking about something other than how to hurt his enemy. The human in front of him was so calm, so peaceful. Even with death hanging over him, he breathed slowly and steadily. His heartbeat was like the rhythm of gentle waves on a quiet shore, and somehow that rhythm was getting into Thrakmer's head. His own breathing was starting to match. His own heartbeat was slowing down. "What are you doing to me?" he asked. "Nothing," Deho said. "I am just being myself. Just like you are being yourself. I am a warrior. I kill enemies. Yes, but what else are you?" Thrakmer did not know how to answer that question. He had been a fighter for so long that he could not remember being anything else. The crowd was getting restless. This was not the fight they had come to see. Where was the blood? Where was the violence? Why were the two fighters just standing there talking? Commander Kethver's voice boomed across the arena. "Thrakmer! Stop playing with the human. Kill him now." But for the first time in his life, Thrakmer did not obey immediately. He looked at Deho, who was still breathing slowly, still calm. "Why do you not hate me?" Thrakmer asked. "Why should I hate you? I am your enemy. I am here to kill you." "You are here because someone told you to be here," Deho said. "Just as like I'm here because someone told me to be here. But that does not make us enemies. Then what does it make us?" Deho smiled for the first time since entering the arena. "It makes us two people who are trying to understand each other." Thrakmer felt something crack inside his chest. It was not pain, but it felt like pain because he had never felt it before. It was the feeling of a heart that had been closed for too long, finally starting to open. He raised his weapons again, but his hands were shaking. "I have to kill you," he said. "It is what I do." "You do not have to do anything," Deho said. "You can choose." "I do not know how to choose. I only know how to fight." "Then let me teach you." Deho sat down on the sand of the arena floor. He crossed his legs and closed his eyes. Then he began to breathe, even more slowly and deeply than before. The crowd gasped. What was the human doing? Had he given up? Was he surrendering? But Thrakmer understood. Somehow, he understood exactly what the human was offering him, a choice. For several long minutes, Thrakmer stood over the sitting human. His weapons were ready. One quick strike, and the fight would be over. The humans would become slaves, and he would be the hero of the Veltar Empire. But as he stood there, he could hear Deho's breathing, slow and peaceful and steady. And for some reason, that sound was the most beautiful thing he had ever heard. The warrior who had killed 1,000 beings began to cry. He did not understand why. He had never cried before, not even when he was hurt. But something about the human's peaceful breathing was breaking. Down walls inside him that had been built over many years, the tears fell on his armor and made small splashing sounds that only he could hear. In the crowd, people were starting to understand that they were not watching a fight anymore. They were watching something that had never happened before in the history of the galaxy. They were watching a killer learn how to feel, and in that moment, everything changed. The tears fell from Thrakmer's eyes and hit the sand with tiny sounds. Each drop seemed to echo in the silent arena. No one moved, no one spoke. The giant warrior stood frozen, his weapons hanging loose in his hands. Deho sat peacefully on the ground, his breathing slow and steady. His eyes were closed, but somehow he knew exactly what was happening around him. He could feel Thrakmer's confusion and pain like it was his own. "I do not understand," Thrakmer whispered. His voice was so quiet that only Deho could hear him. "What is happening to me?" "You are remembering," Deho said without opening his eyes. "Remembering what?" "Who you were before you became a killer." Thrakmer's hands began to shake harder. The weapons that had felt so natural in his grip now felt heavy and wrong. He tried to remember the last time he had felt anything other than anger or the joy of victory. He could not. "I was born to fight," he said. "No one is born to fight," Deho replied. "Fighting is something we learn. But we can also learn other things." In the crowd, something strange was happening. The silence that had started with Deho was spreading through the arena like a wave. People who had come to see violence were finding themselves touched by something they had never expected: peace. A young Veltar warrior in the front row took off his helmet. His face was scarred like all his people, but his eyes were wide with wonder. He had never seen anyone cry who was not dying. He had never seen strength that did not come from weapons. "Is this what humans are really like?" he whispered to the warrior next to him. His companion did not answer. He was too busy trying to understand his own feelings. The rhythm of Deho's breathing was somehow getting into his head, making his own heartbeat slow down. Reporter High One spoke into her microphone. But her voice was different now, softer, more amazed. "Something incredible is happening here," she said. "I have covered wars and battles across the galaxy. I have seen the strongest warriors and the most advanced weapons. But I have never seen anything like this. A human sitting quietly in the sand is somehow changing everyone who looks at him." Back at the monastery, Master Bongsu smiled. He had known this would happen. Not exactly this, but something like this. He had sent Deho not to fight, but to show the galaxy what humans could really do. "The first lesson is always the hardest," he said to the other monks who were watching. "What lesson?" asked Tianwu. "Learning that you do not have to be what others expect you to be." In the arena, Thrakmer was learning that lesson right now. For his entire life, everyone had expected him to be a killer. His parents, his teachers, his commanders, his enemies, they all saw him as a weapon. And he had become what they expected, but now, looking down at this peaceful human, he was remembering something from long ago. A time when he was very young before the training began. He had found a small animal that was hurt, and he had tried to help it. He had been gentle. He had been kind. His parents had seen him and taken the animal away. "Warriors do not waste time on weak things," they had said. That was the last time he had tried to be gentle. "I had forgotten," he whispered. "Forgotten what?" Deho asked. "I had forgotten that I could choose to be kind." Deho opened his eyes and looked up at the giant warrior. "You can choose now." Thrakmer looked at his weapons. They had been his life for so long. With them, he had conquered worlds. With them, he had made his people proud. With them, he had become the most feared warrior in the galaxy. But what had they really given him? What did he have besides scars? And loneliness and the memory of all the people he had killed? "I am tired," he said. "I know. I am tired of hurting people. I am tired of being angry all the time. I am tired of fighting." "Then stop." "I do not know how." Deho stood up slowly. He was so much smaller than Thrakmer that he barely came up to the alien's chest. But somehow he did not look small anymore. "May I show you?" Deho asked. Thrakmor nodded. First, put down your weapons. This was the hardest thing Thrakmor had ever been asked to do. His weapons were part of him. Without them, who was he? But looking into Deho's calm eyes, he felt something he had never felt before. Trust. He trusted this small human who had no reason to help him. Slowly, Thrakmor bent down and placed his weapons on the sand. The sound they made seemed very loud in the quiet arena. Now, Deho said, sit with me. Thrakmor had never sat down during a fight before. It felt wrong. It felt dangerous. But he did it anyway. Close your eyes, Deho said. Thrakmor closed. His eyes, without his weapons, without his anger, he felt naked and afraid. Now breathe with me, Deho said. In slowly, hold it out slowly. At first Thrakmor could not do it. His breathing was fast and scared. But Deho kept breathing beside him, slow and steady, and gradually Thrak_More's breathing began to match. His dot in and out, in and out. Slow and deep and peaceful. For the first time in his adult life, Thrakmor felt calm. The crowd was watching in amazement. Some of them had started crying too, though they did not know why. Others felt a strange peace settling over them, like a warm blanket on a cold night. Even Commander Kethver, watching from his command ship above, felt something changing inside him. He tried to stay angry, tried to order his champion to get up and fight, but the words would not come. What are they doing down there? He asked his officers. I do not know, sir, one of them replied. But do you feel it too? Kethver did feel it. The same strange peace that was spreading through the arena was somehow reaching even into space. It was in the air, in the light, in the very atoms. Around them, minutes passed, then an hour. The two figures sat in the center of the arena, breathing together. They looked like they were meditating, but somehow their meditation was changing everyone who saw it. Captain Dong Hyuk, leading the human observers, whispered to his aide, This is not a fight anymore. This is ... I do not know what this is. But it is beautiful. Dr. Ji-hoon, still watching from the monastery, nodded in understanding. This is what happens when a human chooses love over fear, he said, and shows others that they can choose too. In the arena, Thrakmor was discovering something amazing. The anger that had lived inside him for so long was not gone, but it was getting smaller. In its place was growing something new, a feeling of connection to the human beside him, and through him, to everyone else. I can feel your heart beating, Thrakmor said softly. I can feel yours too, Deho replied. They are beating together. Yes, how is that possible? Because we are not really separate, Deho said. That is what my teachers learned long ago. When you become truly peaceful, inside, you can feel the connections that were always there. Thrakmor opened his eyes and looked around the arena. For the first time, he did not see enemies and strangers. He saw beings who were like him, beings who felt fear and pain and loneliness, beings who wanted to be loved. I have spent my whole life fighting them, he said, but they are just like me. Yes, I have been so alone. You do not have to be alone anymore. Thrakmor looked at Deho with wonder. Will you teach me? Will you show me how to live without fighting? Deho smiled. We can teach each other. In that moment, everyone in the arena knew that something had changed forever. This was not about one fight between two beings. This was about discovering a new way to live. The galaxy would never be the same. The sun was setting over the arena, painting the sky in colors of gold and pink. Deho and Thrakmor had been sitting together for hours, breathing in rhythm, their hearts beating as one. Around them, the thousands of watchers sat in perfect silence. It was Thrakmor who spoke first. I cannot go back, he said quietly. Go back to what? Deho asked. To being what I was before, to killing, to being angry all the time. Thrakmor looked at his hands. They were big and strong, but now they seemed gentle. I remember now what it feels like to be at peace. I cannot forget it again. Deho opened his eyes and smiled. You do not have to go back. You can choose a new path? Slowly, Thrakmor stood up. The crowd held its breath, wondering what would happen next. But instead of picking up his weapons, The giant warrior did something that shocked everyone. He bowed to Day-Ho. It was a deep bow, full of respect and gratitude. The most feared warrior in the galaxy was bowing to a simple human monk. "Thank you," Thrakmer said. "You have given me something I thought was lost forever." "What is that?" "Hope." A sound began to spread through the arena. It started small, just one person clapping, then another, then another. Soon the entire crowd was clapping, but it was not the wild cheering they had done before. It was respectful, amazed, grateful. They had come to see a fight, but they had witnessed something much more important. They had seen how love could change even the hardest heart. Commander Kethver's voice came over the speakers, but it sounded different now, confused and uncertain. "Thrakmer," he said. "What are you doing? The fight is not over." "You have not won." Thrakmer looked up at the speakers. For the first time in his life, he was not afraid of his commander. "The fight is over," he said, "but not because anyone lost. It is over because I have found something better than winning." "What are you talking about?" "I have found peace, Commander. And I will not give it up, not for you, not for anyone." In the command ship above, Kethver felt anger rising in his chest, but then something strange happened. The peaceful feeling that had been spreading through the arena reached him too. His anger became smaller, and in its place came curiosity. What if the human and his warrior were right? What if there was something better than conquest? Down in the arena, Day-Ho stood up and walked over to where Thrakmer's weapons lay in the sand. He picked up the huge sword. It was so heavy he could barely lift it. "These do not belong to you anymore," he said. Thrakmer nodded. "I know, but I do not know what to do with them." "We could bury them," Day-Ho suggested. "Let them rest in the earth. Let something peaceful grow over them." Together they began to dig a hole in the sand. It was hard work, but other people came down from the crowd to help. Humans and aliens working side by side, their hands dirty, their hearts light. When the hole was deep enough, Thrakmer placed his weapons inside. As he covered them with sand, he felt like he was burying an old version of himself. "What will I do now?" he asked Day-Ho. "Whatever you want," Day-Ho said. "You are free to choose." "I want to learn," Thrakmer said. "I want to learn how to live. Like you do, how to be peaceful, how to help instead of hurt." "Then come with me," Day-Ho said. "There is room at the monastery for anyone who wants to learn." The crowd was beginning to leave the arena, but they were not the same people who had arrived that morning. Something had changed inside all of them. They had seen that there was another way to solve problems. They had seen that enemies could become friends. Reporter Haiwan was finishing her broadcast. "I came here today expecting to report on a battle," she said into her microphone. "Instead, I have witnessed the most important moment in galactic history. Today we learned that peace is not weakness. Today we learned that the strongest thing any being can do is choose love over hate." Back at the monastery, Master Bongsu was packing a bag. The other monks watched him with curiosity. "Where are you going, Master?" asked Sister Yunji. "To the capital city," he said. "There will be many people who want to understand what happened today. They will have questions. They will want to learn. Will you teach them? We will all teach them. This is just the beginning," and he was right. In the weeks that followed, ships came to New Scylla from all over the galaxy. Not warships, but ships full of people who wanted to learn about the human way of peace. The Veltar Empire, which had seemed so powerful, began to change. Many of their warriors put down their weapons and asked to learn meditation. Commander Kethver himself came to the monastery and asked Master Bongsu to teach him how to breathe properly. "For so long we thought strength meant hurting others," Kethver said. "But your students showed us that real strength means helping others find peace." Other alien species sent ambassadors. They wanted to create treaties not based on fear, but on friendship. They wanted to learn how humans had developed this amazing ability to change hearts and minds. Ambassador Taemin worked day and night to set up the first Galactic Council for Peace. It would be a place where different species could come together to solve problems without fighting. "No more wars," he said at the opening ceremony. No more conquest. From now on, we solve our differences the human way, with patience, understanding, and respect for all life. Admiral Sujin changed the human military too. Instead of just training soldiers to fight, they now taught them to be peacekeepers. They learned meditation alongside combat skills. They learned how to calm angry people instead of just defeating them. A warrior who cannot make peace is not truly strong, she told her troops. Real warriors protect life, not destroy it. Daeho returned to his garden, but now he was not alone. Thrakmor worked beside him, learning to grow plants instead of ending lives. The big alien was gentle with the small seedlings, careful not to hurt them. It is amazing, Thrakmor said one morning as they worked. These tiny plants are so much braver than I ever was. How so? They grow toward the light no matter what tries to stop them. They never give up hope. Other former warriors came to learn too. The monastery grew bigger, with new buildings and gardens. But it never lost its feeling of peace. Sister Yunji started teaching classes for visitors from other worlds. She showed them how to breathe deeply, how to quiet their minds, how to find the stillness inside themselves. The most powerful weapon any of us has, she would tell her students, is a peaceful heart. When you are truly at peace, you can help others find peace too. Dr. Ji-Hung wrote books about what had happened in the arena. They were read all over the galaxy. Children learned about the day when war became less important than friendship. Years passed. The galaxy became a different place. There were still problems, still disagreements between different species. But now they had a new way to solve them. They talked instead of fought. They listened instead of shouted. They looked for ways to help each other instead of ways to win. And it all started with one human who chose to sit quietly in the sand and breathe. Daeho was an old man now, but he still worked in the garden every morning. Sometimes he would sit by the pond and remember that day in the arena. He would smile, thinking about how scared he had been. He had been afraid he was not strong enough to face the galaxy's greatest warrior. But he had learned something important that day. He was not supposed to be strong enough. He was supposed to show that strength was not what mattered. What mattered was love. What mattered was choosing peace even when everything around you was chaos. What mattered was believing that every being, no matter how angry or scared or lost, had goodness inside them waiting to be found. The galaxy had learned that lesson too. And because of that, everyone was free to be their best selves. The transformation was complete, and it would last forever.